In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and void, and darkness covered the waters of the deep. The Spirit of the Lord hovered over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light and saw that it was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. And He called the light day, and He called the darkness night. And He called it good. And there was evening and morning for the first day. In the very beginning words of Scripture, we have a theme that is on repeat throughout the rest of Scripture and also the rest of our lives' history as we know it. The theme is not simply about that there's this fight and conflict between darkness and light, although that is not a bad way to talk about it. In fact, we have repeated this even a lot of our secular understanding. Look at Star Wars. There's the dark side and the light side. Look at a lot of our Westerns. We have the cowboys that were not the good ones in the dark hats, and then the good guy was in the light hat. And we had this idea that it's about darkness and light. It's not a bad illustration, but if you actually look at verse 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and void. This is the first description and understanding of the earth, of what was happening. And those words are meant to convey this understanding that there is chaos. Chaos is what ruled the world. But not for long, because God stepped in. And when God stepped in and He spoke into existence light, and He spoke all the rest of the creation story, what He is doing is He is ordering the chaos. That's what Genesis 1 is, in a broad picture, is about, is that God is bringing order to the chaos of this world. This is how Isaiah would even say it in Isaiah 45:18. He says, "For the Lord is God, and He created the heavens and the earth and put everything in place. He made the world to be lived in, not a place of empty chaos." That is what God made. That is what God intended. Empty chaos cannot stand against the order of the Lord. But all too often, we have bought into the rule of chaos rather than the order of the Lord. It seems that chaos seems to run rampant in our world, and we have bought into the rule of chaos in our society. Whether it be through the riots or through politics or even the news media, it seems that chaos seems to rule. Chaos is what we hear about. Chaos is what seems to be going on. And we've just almost accepted, well, that's the way it is. We've let that infiltrate into our families. That we've let the chaos rule our families. This may be most evident in our scheduling of life, is that we look at all of our schedules and think, man, this is chaotic, all the things that we have to do. And we've let that rule our life, rather than letting the Prince of Peace, the God of order, speak His word into our lives to bring us life. We've also let the chaos rule our churches, where everyone's opinion is allowed to divide us further and further. Paul would have a thing or two to say to a group of Christians that were allowing the chaos to rule their church. In 1 Corinthians, to the Corinthian church, chapter 14:33, he says, "For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace, as in all the meetings of God's holy people." Now, Paul is spending a lot of time in this letter correcting the chaos that the Corinthian church has brought into their church. And maybe there's a thing or two that we can learn from that for Western Heights family, but I'll save that for another time. The point that I want to drive home is, don't let the chaos rule. We can still look at our world and think, man, there's so much chaos going on, and we feel that we are just bound by the chaos. The world is full of it, don't get me wrong. But God is a God of order, and God brings order. And so maybe what we need to do Maybe what we need to do is step out in faith against the chaos of this world, to recognize that in the beginning, when God created, He brought order to the chaos. And God is still at work. So don't let the chaos continue to rule our lives. Don't let the chaos be the default place. Step out in faith and join the mission of God that is bringing order, that is bringing meaning, and that is bringing life to every one of us. I would echo the words of Jesus as the encouragement that Jesus wants us to have a life and life to the full. The only way that that can happen is if we don't let chaos rule. We let the Lord rule. Love you guys. Hope you have a fantastic weekend.